Hi guys, so I've been getting a lot of requests to do my coming out story, and the reason for my delay is simply just because I have been trying to figure out how I want to order the story and how I want to tell it. And I've been thinking about it for a while, but I haven't settled on a method. So what I've decided is that I'm going to just go for it and see how this plays out. So yeah, bear with me. I guess I should start with the question, have I always known that I'm gay? And there's not really a yes or no answer to that. When I was growing up, I always knew something was different about me. I was never interested in guys the way that my friends were. I remember people having boyfriends in elementary school, and I was just never interested. I just never understood the point of it. But I felt myself going along with it just because I felt like that's what you should do. Another thing about me is that I always hung out with boys when I was younger. The two neighbor boys were my best friends, and we would play in the woods, ride bikes, ride four-wheelers, do that kind of stuff together, and I just loved it. I was kind of what you could call a tomboy. I would only wear boys' clothes when I was younger, and I had a really short haircut, and it actually got to the point where I'd be mistaken for a boy a lot of the times, and sometimes I wished that I was a boy. Not in the sense that I wanted to be a man, I just thought it would be easier because of these feelings that I was having for girls. I just thought it would be easier if I was a boy, because then I could love who I love and not be questioned about it. So I was always struggling with feeling different, but I never had a label for it, and I never could put my finger on quite what it was. And then when I got into junior high, I started to understand it a little bit better. I want to say when I was in about 8th grade, I met some new friends, and it was like an instant connection. We became like really close, really good friends, and I was always hanging around this group of girls. One of the things I struggled with in friendships like this was being overly attached to specific people, and I would get jealous if I wasn't their favorite friend, or I'd just be overly sensitive to the things they said to me. And I would describe myself as being controlling, even to a point, because I wanted them to be hanging out with me. I wanted them to be spending time with me, and it hurt my feelings if that wasn't how things went. It really did become a problem, and I actually did have some conflict in friendships just because I was struggling with who I was and I didn't understand it. And friendships, overly attached, overly close, however you want to say it, that was my only outlet when it came to discovering who I was and coping with that. So after I kind of reflected on the friendships I was having in my life and some of the issues, I recall very clearly laying in my bed at night and thinking, I'm gay. And I would say that to myself, and I would be in such denial. It was sad, really. I would think to myself, what are the odds that I could be gay? Like, out of all the people in the world, why me? How am I gay? And I remember laying in my bed just thinking, there's no way I could be gay. There's no way that this is who I am. Eventually, after nights and nights of doing that, I came to the conclusion that yes, I am gay. But I would tell myself, all right, so you're gay, but no one has to know about it. You can hide it your whole life. And I told myself that, yeah, I might have romantic feelings for girls, but I can still marry a guy, and I can still have a family and fake it. And that was really what I convinced myself to do. I convinced myself that I was just going to play straight my entire life, and I would just push those gay feelings out of my head and just completely ignore them. In my mind, being successful and being respected didn't go along with being gay. And I thought that in order to be successful and in order to be respected, I had to sacrifice happiness and I had to sacrifice truly falling in love with someone. I decided that I had to lie about who I was. My reality would have to be living a lie and being with a man. Love never made sense to me. I didn't understand what the big deal was. I didn't understand why everyone freaked out about it. It just didn't make sense to me. To me, being in a relationship with a man was always forced, and it just didn't feel right. I had to force myself to make an effort. I had to force myself to be happy. It just didn't feel like it worked. So in 11th grade, I had my first and only boyfriend in my life, and it only lasted a very short time. I did enjoy his company and his friendship, but that was really all it was. It was only ever friendship. We were never really anything serious. So I was perfectly content with my plan to just find a nice guy to marry and fake it my entire life and just completely ignore my feelings and my true sexuality. And then I fell in love with a girl for the first time. And let me tell you, once I fell in love with a woman, everything made sense. I absolutely was positive that this is how things were meant to be. I am gay. I am a lesbian. And I truly understood what love was, and I truly understood what everyone was talking about when they fell in love with someone. I actually had genuine feelings for this girl, and everything really did make sense. And that was when I realized that I couldn't fake it anymore. I couldn't live my life with a man because I got a taste of what love is like, and I wanted that. I wanted to spend my life with a woman, and I knew at that moment that I had to come out eventually. I couldn't hide who I was anymore because I wanted to share my life with this person, and I didn't want to miss out on love, and I didn't want to miss out on being truly happy just to please other people. The person I was dating wasn't comfortable coming out. She wasn't out either, so we were just basically playing friends for quite some time. And I knew I was ready to come out. I just wanted to, and I was at a really good place in my life, and I just felt so ready to come out. It's almost a feeling where you can't wait any longer. Like, you just know that it is time. And I knew it was my time because I didn't feel forced, and it was something I truly wanted. But the person I was dating, she wasn't comfortable coming out. And because I wanted to respect her and I didn't want to put her in an uncomfortable position, I decided to sacrifice my coming out and put it off a little bit longer because I didn't want to out her in the process of my coming out. Things didn't quite work out that way because one weekend when I had some friends staying with us, my friends had suspicion, and one of them decided to go through some of my things. And they ended up putting two and two together and discovered that I was in a relationship with this girl. And they ended up going home and spreading it to some of my acquaintances and things like that. So I got word of it that some people had found out, and I decided that I didn't want other people to find out through others. I wanted them to find out from me. So that day I decided to tell all my close friends because I wanted them to hear it from me. And unfortunately, a lot of the people I couldn't tell face to face just because I felt like I had to do it so quickly. I ended up texting my closest friends, and they were all really cool about it. I didn't get any negative feedback. They're honestly more upset that this friend had done this to me and had spread my personal business around. And they said that they were really happy for me, and I actually didn't lose any friends over it, and I'm really happy about that. And then in telling my friends, I thought that it was only right to tell my parents. My mom had talked to me before about whether or not I'm gay. She would make casual remarks about it. So she obviously had her suspicion, but every time I would just deny it because at that point in my life I wasn't ready. But again, I wasn't really fooling my parents because I had brought the girl I was dating around, and I mean, we were pretty obvious about it. So I wasn't really fooling my parents, and I don't really think I was fooling my friends, so that kind of made coming out easier just because I think they already had known, or at least they had a suspicion. So at the time I lived about 3 hours away from my parents, and I decided that I wanted to write them a letter because telling them verbally that I was gay was just not something I was ready to do. I wanted to sort my thoughts out on paper so that I knew I didn't miss anything, because I know a lot of times when you're having a conversation with someone, you think back and you're like, oh, I wish I would have said this, or oh, I wish I would have worded that differently. And I just wanted to make sure it was perfect. So I had been drafting a letter for months, probably 2 or 3 months, and I had it perfect, everything I wanted to say, and I just felt really complete and really happy with the letter. So I ended up sending that to my parents, all of my aunts and uncles, and my grandparents all at once. I didn't want anyone to find out from someone other than me. So I sent it out to all of my family, and my parents called me right away as soon as they received the letter, and they said that me being gay didn't change anything, and that they had always known. They were just waiting for me to come to them about it. And I'm actually really glad that they gave me the chance to come to them instead of asking me, because it allowed me to be secure in who I am and be comfortable with who I am, and it allowed me to do things on my own terms, and I really respect that, and I appreciate that they allowed me to have that opportunity, because I was able to find myself and I was able to gain confidence before I came out, and I think that's really important. Everyone on my mom's side of the family contacted me. One of my mom's sisters called, and that was one of the hardest calls I've ever had because it was very, very emotional. She got very emotional about it, and she was crying and just saying how sorry she was that I had to struggle with this, and that it must have been very hard for me, and how she just felt so sorry that we live in a world where homosexuality isn't accepted by everyone. And that really touched me because I didn't know what to expect, and I was so scared to get feedback from my family, and the fact that they reached out to me was very touching. I was so hesitant, and I really had no idea how people would react, and to get those kind of reactions, it just made me really, really happy. My dad was so sweet about everything. He was very accepting, and he was very quick to reach out to me, but I never heard from his family about my letter. They never really acknowledged it, and that does hurt me a little bit. My letter was very, very heartfelt, and it expressed a lot of my vulnerability, and it does hurt me that I never heard back from my dad's family, or that they never acknowledged or addressed the letter directly. I know that they obviously know now, because I know that they received the letter, but as far as speaking to me about it, they don't, and I can understand that they may feel uncomfortable or they may not know how to go about it, and that's fine. But I was a little bit disappointed, and I know my dad was very upset with how his family went about it. Even though they didn't acknowledge it, I am still extremely, extremely happy that I no longer have to live a lie, that I can be who I am, and I can be open about it, and I can be upfront about it, and I know that I have the support of the people who mean something to me. Because at the end of the day, if people aren't willing to accept you and they aren't willing to support you, you don't need them in your life. I know it might feel like you do, but you don't need someone dragging you down. You need someone who is willing to lift you up and someone who is going to be there for you. Those are the people who truly matter in life. People who are hateful are generally very ignorant and uneducated. And I know that they probably don't know anyone personally who is gay or have really had contact with gay individuals. And that is why I feel like it is so important to educate them, because I know that that is the first step in making a change. So that was my coming out story. I hope you found this video helpful. Be sure to leave me a comment. Follow me on my social networking sites. They're all in the description. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe because I post new videos every week.